Hello everyone, this is Dulu, your British Bangladeshi, with another reaction video to the history of China. I'm doing a much longer and more detailed history of China now. This video is around just under 3 hours long, and I've done the first part and we'll do another few more minutes, probably 10 minutes or so of the second part. It's very interesting, about a very important country and probably the preeminent superpower soon in the world, almost certainly over the next 50 to 100 years. So it's really important to understand this country and this culture and this civilization. So we'll start the video. I think we finished off at the Qin dynasty last time, didn't we? So I'll just get the video to the correct place and we'll start in a second. So I'll just pause it now and then I'll come back to you in a second. Right, so we're at the right bit now, so we'll continue from the part 1 video. This is now part 2. This is now the Qin dynasty, so we'll get started.
Though they displayed great promise and power in the Warring States period, leading Ying Zheng to proclaim that his dynasty would rule for 10,000 generations, the Qin's dynastic cycle was relatively short-lived, lasting approximately 15 years from 221 BCE to 206 BCE. Despite this, their effects proved to be very important and durable across the following centuries. The name China comes from Qin. In contrast with the feudalist Zhou.
Yep, I remember reading about this a long while back about the history of China. That's a very important dynasty. That's where the name China comes from, the Qin, and so it's really something worth remembering about China's history. That this is really the foundation point of China as we understand it nowadays.
Whose decentralization ultimately led to the dynasty's downfall, the Qin enacted an intense centralization and subjugation of the state's citizens. Ying Zheng's main efforts included registering each citizen with the government, directing the flow of taxes to the state instead of feudal lords, and dividing the land into provinces, each one governed by an appointed official acting as an appendage of his ruling. He also aimed to standardize currencies, writing systems, and weights. While these changes were primarily for the sake of making the population more manageable and controllable, they contributed to the creation of a culturally homogeneous Chinese identity that was previously unseen throughout the country's history. China had become a united empire, and Ying Zheng its first true emperor. The Qin were notorious for their cruelty and harsh punishments. As legalists, they believed people were born evil, and that the only way to sustain a civilized society was to utilize ghastly criminal punishments and deter potentially disobedient citizens solely through fear. Ying Zheng needed everyone in China to understand that he, and he alone, ruled the land. Governmental workers and military personnel were also subjected to collective punishments to hold entire labor groups accountable for their work. If one man neglected his duties, it would come at the cost of the entire collective's well-being. The life of a peasant under the Qin, and in ancient China in general, was very taxing. Peasants worked long, straining hours, typically in one of two fields: farming or silk weaving. Entertainment was used to relieve the stress of long working days. Theater and dance were very popular, and formerly military training games such as Cuju, a game similar to hacky sack, were adopted to pass the time. The Qin state was a patriarchal society, and life could be very difficult for women. They primarily stayed home to tend to the children and look after the household, and had little to no say in marital issues, land acquisition or sales, or daily local proceedings. Peasants did not particularly like the emperor, detesting him for his cruel punishments and adoption of legalism.
Yes, I mean, collective punishment and forcing people to obey you, it never really works in the end. As we've learned, you have to, throughout history, and this is, most societies and empires have tried to force people, and most rulers have tried to force people to obey them. It never really works in the end, and it creates great resentment, and it actually creates weaknesses within your own society. And those weaknesses mean eventually people from outside come and conquer you, and then everything is gone. So, consent is far more important, I think, for civilizations to continue and to grow, rather than forced obedience.
It was not just his own population that Yingzheng had to fear. Nomadic tribes, particularly the Xiongnu, who are believed to be the predecessors to the Huns, continuously terrorized the northern Qin borders. Armed horsemen would launch fierce intrusions on China's outskirts, highlighting the Qin's need for strengthened borders. This led to the most significant construction effort of the Qin dynasty, a Great Wall. This wasn't the same Great Wall of China we know today, though parts of the incredible architectural feat are still visible today. Sections of the Great Wall had already been built, tracing back to the 5th century BCE, though Qin Shi Huang was the first to think of uniting all of the existing pieces.
Just for those whose geography may not be that good, I mean mine isn't that good either, but just to give you an idea of modern countries around China, the countries that exist today. So you've got North and South Korea there, I think that's Japan, and you've got India here, North India, that's Pakistan, and that's Bangladesh, where I was born. And so, I think that's Bangladesh actually. I think Bangladesh is there, yeah, somewhere there, yeah. You've got Burma somewhere here, and Nepal somewhere here. And that's just to give you an example. And to the north is modern day Russia. So just to give you an idea of where modern day countries are. That may be helpful or may not be helpful. I thought I'd just do that. Okay. We'll continue with the video.
Is to form one Great Wall. Peasants who were deemed lazy or unproductive in their farming or market jobs were oftentimes sent to work on the wall. Transporting materials was very difficult, so the wall was mainly built out of whatever resources were readily available in each particular area. In mountainous regions, the wall was made of mountain stones, while rammed earth was used in the plains. Though the Qin did not view the wall as a permanent solution, the project would be continued over many successive centuries to form the Great Wall we know today. Though he had conquered the warring states at just the age of 38, survived 3 assassination attempts throughout the course of his rule, and now fortified the state of Qin, there was one enemy Yingzheng could not defeat: death itself. When Yingzheng reached middle age, he became obsessed with his own mortality and sought out various elixirs and potions to extend his life. He sent alchemists and explorers on quests around the Pacific to find the legendary island of Penglai, whose mountains supposedly held the elixir of immortality. Yingzheng was so desperate that he could not understand he was being conned, primarily by Xu Fu, the leader of these expeditions. On the first voyage, Xu Fu was sent with 3,000 virgin boys and girls and 60 boats, but of course returned empty-handed as the island was mythological. Possibly fearing the consequences of a failed mission, Xu Fu and the explorers that returned from the voyage claimed that their passage was obstructed by a giant sea creature. Xu Fu requested a troop of archers for their next effort to defeat the creature and move forward with their conquest.
Who knows, it could have been a whale that they saw, or some other humongous animal in the oceans, because believe it or not, we're not actually sure, and we haven't mapped quite a bit of the oceans, and there'll be animals living there, maybe so deep, maybe 2, 3, 4 miles deep within the ocean that we simply have never seen and don't have access to, especially in those days. So while it may seem fantastical, there could have been a large creature that they saw that even we don't know about, or it could just be a whale or a big shark. Who knows? So it may not be that he's just making it up. Who knows, right?
Yingzheng obliged and once again provided everything he requested, though Xu Fu and his crews never returned from the trip. What exactly happened is still unknown today, though the most popular theory is that Xu Fu simply sailed to Japan and colonized it. Growing increasingly paranoid and desperate, Yingzheng began ingesting potions his own alchemists had created. It is at this time that a series of now famed book burnings and live burials took place, as Yingzheng had grown utterly mad, wanting to erase all history and ideologies he saw as diminishing to his reign and the Qin.
Well, apologies for the noise, everyone. I think the building next door, they're doing some construction work, so apologies if the noise is a bit too excessive.
Dynasty, Yingjing had 460 Confucian scholars buried alive and destroyed many of their texts in mass book burnings, which were the first documented book burnings in human history. Soon thereafter, in an ironic twist,
Well, it may be the first documented history of book burning, but unfortunately so many civilizations in the past have done this. It's absolutely insane, because all you're doing is hurting yourself and stopping the progress of your own civilization, as well as benefiting the rest of the world. So for any, as I said in another video, and I'll say it again, for any budding leaders anywhere in the world, please don't burn books, and please don't kill scholars. We need them, and because they are what defines civilization itself. But we see it happen so many times in history.
Yingjing's quest for eternal life led to his death at the age of 49. The concoctions he was supplied with by his alchemist contained high levels of mercury, which killed the emperor by poisoning. Before the emperor's death, he had commanded the construction of a grand mausoleum to house his body. An underground necropolis flooded with artifacts, monuments, and thousands of clay warriors to follow Yingjing into the afterlife was accidentally uncovered by a group of farmers in 1974 AD. The scale and detail of each soldier shocked archaeologists. No two warriors had the same facial features, and just like a real army, they were divided by military rank in battle formation. Each one was equipped with a real weapon that had never been used in battle. There are clear signs of mass production simply to arm the terracotta warriors with new, undamaged weapons. Yingjing had clearly decided that if he could not conquer death, he would conquer the afterlife. There is still plenty of mystery regarding the terracotta warriors. We don't know who exactly built the Grand Mausoleum, or why there is no documented history of its construction. It is estimated that it took over 700,000 workers to build. Because of this enigma and the grand scale of the findings, Yingjing's terracotta army is referred to as the eighth wonder of the world. Following the emperor's passing, his associate Li Si kept his death a secret with the hopes of snatching power away from Yingjing's eldest son and successor, Fusu. Li Si sought to prevent him from gaining any more political might than he already had. As Fusu had ties with a general that rivaled Li Si in court, the pair would surely remove him from power if they were in control. Li Si brought the king's corpse back to the capital in a merchant caravan of rotting fish to mask the scent of death. He then created a fake document, supposedly written by Yingjing, commanding both Fusu and the general to commit suicide. The plan worked, and with both of their targets dead, another son of the emperor took power. That son was Qin Ershi, who quickly proved to be far less capable than his widely feared father. He was incredibly self-indulgent and childish, killing. However, Li Si would not take power. Qin Ershi would suspect him and others of corruption and treason. Li Si was sentenced to execution by death of 1,000 cuts. This method of execution involved the condemned person being subjected to a series of cuts or slices to various parts of their body. The intent was not to cause immediate death, but to prolong the suffering of the condemned. Additionally, to top it off, his entire family to the third degree was executed, quickly capitalizing on the weakened state.
I mean, that is just proper cruelty. It's absolutely horrible. Can you imagine being killed in that way so slowly? It's astonishing. But you see civilizations, even the greatest civilizations on Earth, do practice this sort of cruelty. It's quite astonishing.
Mass revolts began. Lu Bang, a peasant under the Qin dynasty, spearheaded a major uprising and gained control of the land after a fierce clash known as the Battle of Gaisha, in which over 100,000 men were either killed or taken prisoner. Thus began the incredibly successful Han Dynasty.
Okay, I think we'll pause it there then for now, since this is another dynasty that we're coming up to, and then we can maybe continue at some other time. But I hope you found that interesting. I know I did, learnt a lot, and some of it was revision, having read Chinese history many years ago. So it's very interesting. We'll see what happens in the next video, the Han Dynasty. So yeah, do like, subscribe, and make a contribution if you wish. Whatever the amount, it's up to you. So I can continue doing this. We'll carry on with Chinese history, and if you want me to react to anything else, it could be anything, doesn't have to be history. Please do let me know in the comment section or get in touch. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye for now from Dulu, your British Bangladeshi. Bye bye.